gracious, and it is a true privilege to be here with you this morning as we set the stage for what is sure to be the beginning of something special here in the region. Ambassador Dai Qingli, the Chinese embassy here in the Bahamas. Ambassador Cheryl Bazard, she's our Bahamian ambassador to the Kingdom of Belgium. Deodat Maharaj, Executive Director, Caribbean Export Development Agency. Felicia Woods Hanna, Director for the Bahamas Investment Authority. Briquel Pinder, Board Member on the Board of Directors for Caribbean Export. Crystal Rutherford Ferguson, Chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. Samantha Roll, Executive Director of the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center, Bahamas. Heads of organizations and institutions, members of the private sector, members of the media, and all under the sound of my voice, both here in Nassau and joining us online, all enthusiasts of economic transformation, welcome to the Bahamas. This year, we are so excited to launch the 2023 Caribbean Investment Forum here in this stunning part of paradise, a reminder that all things are possible. And we're really excited because guiding this conversation today, as we talk about this dynamic synergy of the Caribbean Export Development Agency, the European Union, and the visionaries of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and of course, CARICOM, I'm happy to welcome a phenomenal woman alongside me. Before I invite her to share her greetings, I'd like to ask you, what do you think Nike, Sony, and Apple have in common? Besides the fact that we spend a lot of money in the Caribbean on those brands, what do you think they have in common? No takers, so I'll have to tell you. The answer is this phenomenal lady sitting next to me. Her name is Jo Ellen Lai, and she's the Manager of Partnerships and Advocacy and Reporting at the Caribbean Export Development Agency. But she's also one of the reasons that those brands have done so well, right? She's the brain box behind so many of the things that we now enjoy, and we trust that she's brought that visionary leadership to her role here. Jo Ellen, good morning and welcome.
Thank you ever so much for having me. It's absolutely wonderful to be back here once again in the Bahamas.
It's a pleasure to have you with us and to have your expertise with us. What is most exciting for you about the launch today?
Well, for us, it's really about, presenting what to expect from the Caribbean Investment Forum. The event itself will be taking place in October, from the 23rd to the 25th of October, right here at the Atlantis. And this is really an opportunity to share with everybody, some of the insights, the reasons why we're holding this forum, and for them to understand what to expect from the program itself.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. You and I have had some conversations offline, and some of the things that you all are planning to share at this event sound absolutely exciting, next world, right? And so it's going to be a great morning. Of course, we're going to start that morning by hearing from one of the men behind the great vision of this, and that, of course, is Deodat Maharaj. You happen to work with him. Should we be very excited about this presentation coming up?
Most definitely.
Great answer from a good employee.
I don't think I should say anything else, right?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to meet Mr. Deodat Maharaj. He really is a distinguished global visionary hailing from the one and only Trinidad and Tobago. He has over 25 years of impactful engagement in international trade. He's been a dynamic force in economic development, having traversed Barbados, Guyana, Suriname, and his homeland. He's a true regional aficionado. And as the former Deputy Secretary General of the Commonwealth, he masterminded economic progress across 54 nations, from the Caribbean to Asia. A proponent of private sector partnership, he's a catalyst for the Sustainable Development Goals. And his scholarly credentials will carry us throughout the morning, so I won't even go into them. But just know that he has great expertise in international relations, and his journey has woven him through multiple continents, enriching his global perspective. He, of course, is the Executive Director of the Caribbean Export Development Agency, one of the reasons we are here today. Please give him a warm welcome as he comes to welcome us to this great forum.
And good morning to the colleagues and friends and business people who are joining us all over the Caribbean. We have more than 500, close to 500 people joining us online. So good morning to those in the Caribbean. Good afternoon to those who are joining from Europe. Good evening to those in Asia. And for those in the Pacific, it would be good morning, but next day. Joellen and Anastasia, thank you so very much. After that introduction, I don't know what to say. but thank you nonetheless. Excellencies, Director Pinder, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, members of the business community, a warm welcome to the launch of our Caribbean Investment Forum 2023 under the theme, A Bold New Caribbean. We at Caribbean Export, we are truly delighted that we are doing this investment forum in partnership with the government of the Bahamas, right here on Paradise Island at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. The Bahamas, as we know, is a country that is well known for its business-friendly climate and its approach to getting investment and business. So we are really happy that we are here in the Bahamas. And many of you here may not know Caribbean Export, but the Caribbean Export Development Agency is the regional organization that focuses on private sector development. Caribbean Export was established around 30 years ago and has as its membership all the Caribbean community, or all the CARICOM countries, plus the Dominican Republic, giving a market size of close to 27 million people. And of course, it's a free trade area as well. Caribbean Export is based in Barbados. We have an office, a small office in Haiti, as well as a sub-regional office in the Dominican Republic. What are our priorities? We just have one priority, basically to create jobs and opportunity for our people. And how do we create jobs and opportunity for our people? We focus on private sector development and making a difference where it matters, on the ground and in the lives of people. And how do we do this? Caribbean Export, we work in two primary areas. One is on the trade side, to promote Caribbean products globally. I mean, just recently, Bahamas, as we all already know, has really fine quality rum. And Excellency, when you go to Brussels, this is one of the products you'll be promoting. So we have really good knowledge and a long history of understanding trade agreements and helping our businesses to penetrate new markets, as we've been working with rum producers here in the Bahamas to penetrate markets such as those in the European Union and in now the United Kingdom, which is a separate market. On the investment side, our job is to promote and steer investment to the Caribbean. And why is investment important in the Caribbean? Investment is really important given our small size, limited financing within the region. Foreign direct investment is a precious asset for us in the Caribbean. And what we have been doing, we have been working day in, day out with our investment promotion agencies and the private sector to get investment to the Caribbean. And what is really important, I think, and should be emphasized in terms of our work at Caribbean Export, as I had noted earlier, our job is to create results and generate growth and opportunity for our people where it matters on the ground. So whether it's in Bahamas or Trinidad and Tobago, I am from, or Guyana or Grenada in the Eastern Caribbean, we are working day in, day out with businesses to develop projects for financing. We are working with businesses to take their products to penetrate new and exciting markets. The Caribbean Investment Forum, I believe, is another platform that would allow us to showcase and demonstrate the massive potential of the Caribbean as a place for opportunity, as a place for investment. When we think about the Caribbean, we have Her Excellency, the Ambassador from China with us. When we think about the Caribbean, we think small. We think Bahamas. We think Grenada, 100,000 people. St. Kitts and Nevis, 60,000. Trinidad and Tobago, 1.4 million people. When we put our population together in the Caribbean, and we include the Dominican Republic as part of our free trade agreement, an arrangement, we're looking at a market of 27 million. So it's no longer 250 or 280,000. That's one. Secondly, the Caribbean, we have free trade agreements with a range of countries. We have a free trade agreement or an economic partnership agreement with the European Union that allows investors who come and set up shop here, manufacturing or otherwise, to export their products to a highly lucrative market of 500 million people in the European Union. We have an economic partnership agreement with the United Kingdom that allows us to do the same. We have a free trade agreement with Cuba, with Costa Rica, with Colombia. So when you think Caribbean, let's perish the thought of us being tiny. The Caribbean has a vast market and is a beachhead and springboard to access lucrative, high-end, and big markets, whether it's in North America, Europe, or in South America, or right here in the Caribbean. I would like to use this opportunity to also recognize the Honorable Minister Ginger Moxey, the Minister for Grand Bahama. Most welcome, Honorable Minister. We had the distinct pleasure of Minister Moxey joining us on the inaugural mission to West Africa, to Ghana and Nigeria about 2 months ago. Minister, thank you so much for coming and for your continued strong support forward, especially on the investment agenda. So we have to change some of the standard assumptions we have about the Caribbean, of us being small, of us being tiny, of us being insignificant. And I would like to pause as well to recognize the Honorable Chester Cooper, Deputy Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, warm welcome. And so when we think the Caribbean Deputy Prime Minister, I think it's important we perish the thought of small size. Also, I would like to add that in 2019, we had a record number of tourist arrivals in the Caribbean, still-over tourist arrivals. We had approximately 31 million still-over tourist arrivals. So when we think market, it's not only citizens and residents of the Caribbean, it's also a vast tourist market. So some of these standard assumptions we need to decide. I think that for us, the Caribbean Investment Forum provides a really unique opportunity to profile the Caribbean, but more specifically, economic projects. And that's why we at the Caribbean Export Development Agency are really grateful to you, Deputy Prime Minister, and your government for so readily agreeing to partner with us to convene the Caribbean Investment Forum 2023 right here in the Bahamas. The Caribbean Investment Forum 2022, the inaugural one that took place over the period 9th to the 11th of November last year in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. There were a lot of naysayers, people saying, why do you want to host a Caribbean Investment Forum in the Caribbean? The place for a Caribbean Investment Forum is Miami, Toronto, New York, London. But we are proud Caribbean people. Why not we profile our work and our opportunities right here in the Caribbean, whilst continuing to do so in other capitals? The Caribbean Investment Forum in Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, we stopped registration at 600 people. 90% were business people from 46 countries. Deals were actually struck because we don't want to have a meeting for the purpose of having a meeting. The Deputy Prime Minister comes from the business sector, so he knows certainly better than I do the importance of striking deals and getting business done. And what is the Caribbean Investment Forum? The vision that we have for the Caribbean Investment Forum at Caribbean Export is to create the platform for business, to engage with business, to create business. So for us at Caribbean Export is less talk and more business. So for the Bahamas, what are our plans? I wouldn't have accepted this job if it was business, if I have to continue as business as usual. We are living in challenging times, and therefore it's more business unusual. And we need to reset our development thinking. And that's why you would see here, our slogan for the Caribbean Investment Forum 2023 is a bold new Caribbean. And how do we achieve a bold new Caribbean? We have to focus on sectors that could drive transformation and that could connect the existing core sectors such as tourism. So we have 4 main themes for Caribbean Investment Forum 2023, or we say CIF 2023. 1, a green economy transition. Why is a green economy transition important? It is important because of our climate vulnerability, but also it makes good business sense. The Inter-American Development Bank and the ILO did a study, and they concluded that a green economy transition will result in the creation of at least an additional 400,000 jobs in this Caribbean of ours, high-paying jobs. So that's why the first theme and priority, green economy transition. Second big issue for us, and then a key area of emphasis for CIF 2023 is on innovation, digitalization, and technology. And why is that important? It's important because we need to take our businesses to the next generation, to the next level, and thus far we have been left out. And that is why it is so critically important for us to focus and drive an agenda to get businesses in the innovation, digitalization, and technology space. So 1, green economy transition. 2, innovation, digitalization, and technology. And the Honorable Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Deputy Prime Minister, all of CARICOM, they have this vision to reduce our food import bill, which is around $6 billion annually, by 25% in the year 2025. The Caribbean is the most food insecure region on the planet. And therefore, that is why the third priority sector for us is agriculture, particularly leveraging technology in agriculture. And we need to think differently. Why are we planting lettuce on the floor flat when you can do it as a skyscraper? Use our limited space in a very different manner, leveraging technology. And the fourth area is logistics and transport. Just yesterday, I came to this beautiful land, to the Bahamas. I'm in Miami 5 hours. So a journey that will take 3 hours took me an entire day. And that is why, for us to get it right, logistics and transport will be critical. But in all these 4 sectors for CIF 2023, green economy transition, ag-tech, innovation, technology, and digitalization, and transport and logistics, business has an important and critical role to play. And that is why we are really appreciative of for partnering with the government of the Bahamas, because I think here the Bahamas got it. They have it. They understand quite clearly it cannot be business as usual. And just to emphasize that, like for CIF 2022, CIF 2023 in the Bahamas, the focus is on getting shovel-ready projects to present to investors. Otherwise, what's the point of meeting? So we are currently working with our investment promotion agencies and the private sector to get those projects ready for potential investors. And Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, just to let you know that we have hired a lead generation consultant, and we would have in the Bahamas minimum 60 high net worth or individual investors, or investors from investment houses. This is in addition to what we expect to be minimal of around 800 participants coming from the Caribbean and globally. So I think CIF 2023 in the Bahamas is going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to be less talk, more business. I should also note that 75% of high-level speakers have already confirmed. This is like 2.5, almost 3 months before the actual investment forum. Secondly, we have a lot of confirmations from investors for CIF 2023. We thought about having a ministerial panel. That has worked out so well. Additional countries have been reaching out to us because they would like to be represented here at the ministerial level as well. So I think it promises to be very, very exciting. In closing, allow me to thank the government of the Bahamas again for this partnership, our partners at the European Union who have been steadfast supporters of the work of the Caribbean Export Development Agency. We have several sponsors, Exim Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, InvestTT, we expect CAF Bank and CDB to come on board as well. Republic Bank is one of our sponsors, and we invite businesses and institutions from the Bahamas to join us as sponsors, partners, or participants as well, because CIF 2023 is critical as we build that brand for our Caribbean, a brand under the theme, a bold new Caribbean. So I encourage you to go to our website. We have a specially designed website for CIF 2023, CaribbeanInvestmentForum.com. See what's on offer. We encourage you to join us, and I am super excited. Thank you so very much for joining again, and thank you very much.
Mr. Maharaj, a round of applause. Certainly an enthusiastic and exciting speech, Joellen.
Yeah.
And he indicated quite a few things that I think we'll discuss some more throughout the morning.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, you know, he set the tone as to kind of really what to expect in October. You know, and I'd like just to take a few minutes just to pick up on a couple of things, you know, particularly from the Caribbean export point of view. Caribbean export has been around for almost 25 years. Some of you may not be aware of that. And we've been implementing we're currently implementing the 11th EDF, European Development Fund Programme, Regional Private Sector Development Programme. And we have implemented a number of those throughout the years. So, you know, I think it's testament to, you know, to see the support from the European Union as it relates to the development of the private sector across the Caribbean, because as Deodat noted, you know, our focus is really about supporting the development of the private sector so that they can create the jobs and the opportunities for our people, because that's how we're going to get the prosperity throughout the region. In fact, we've got a video from a message from the European Union themselves, so maybe we should take a look at that.
We certainly shall. We're very pleased to welcome Her Excellency Marianne Van Steen. She's the European Union Ambassador to the Bahamas, Belize, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. She was appointed EU Ambassador in July 2021 and has over 25 years' experience. She will be sharing with us some exciting news about the way the European Union will be partnering with us at CIF 2023. Here she is.
Members of the Government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Mr. Deodat Maharaj, Executive Director of the Caribbean Export Development Agency, distinguished guests present in the Bahamas or virtual, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me express my appreciation to the Government of the Bahamas having decided to host the second edition of the Caribbean Investment Forum, taking over from the excellent first edition that took place in Trinidad and Tobago in 2022. The European Union, on behalf of which I am addressing you as accredited ambassador to the Bahamas, is very proud to be part of this initiative through our close partnership with the Caribbean Export Development Agency. We truly welcome all the efforts to bring businesses, investors, and policymakers together. Only recently, in July, the European Union and the Latin American and Caribbean countries had a very important summit in Brussels, bringing back together heads of state and government from both sides of the Atlantic after an unfortunate gap of 8 years. Apart from this in itself being a huge achievement, as well as the joint determination to continue to strive together to address the global challenges we cannot face any longer on our own, a very tangible result of this summit was what we are calling our Global Gateway Investment Agenda. The intention to give a boost to investments which are needed and will help the Caribbean and Latin American countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the progress towards which was seriously delayed inter alia because of the COVID pandemic. A lot of preparatory work has been going into this new initiative, including through an in-depth consultation process with the private sector, investment promotion agencies, public institutions, and other key stakeholders. At the July summit, the heads of state and government endorsed the agenda, and work is underway to implement it with vigor And one important activity is exactly this planned investment summit. Additional to the Global Gateway Investment Agenda, which we hope will leverage needed investments, and additional to the continued grant and technical support the European Union and its member states provide to the region, the Investment Forum will also be, so we hope, an opportunity to showcase our successful European single market. This market ensures the free movement of goods, services, capital and persons for over 450 million citizens. And that single market is accessible to the Caribbean countries through a free trade agreement, what we call the Economic Partnership Agreement, that we signed back in 2008. This agreement allows duty-free and quota-free access for Caribbean exports. This is not to say that all products and services can be exported to the EU market just like that. No, they do need to meet certain standards and norms before they can do so. But we have extensive technical and financial support programs to help Caribbean companies to do precisely that. And one of our main partners is the Caribbean Export Development Agency, with whom we are partnering, as we did in the past, to ensure the continuation of this support, including for the organization of events like the upcoming Investment Forum. We very much hope that the Investment Forum in the Bahamas will be even more successful than the 2022 edition. We expect to see a focus on key investment project opportunities, on tapping into the growth potential of the Caribbean region, on attracting more national, regional and international capital. And beyond capital, we hope to see more transfer of know-how, a strengthening of our trade volumes, and ultimately increased growth and more jobs for Caribbean citizens. Without going any further, let me conclude by reiterating the European Union's full support, our gratitude to the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for partnering with us on this endeavor, and I hope all of you will spread the word so that we can make this event as successful and useful as we are sure it will be. Thank you, and looking forward to seeing you in October.
Excellent.
Right.
I feel so excited about that. And one thing stands out to me, I can't get out of my head, 450 million people, and the access that we now have to that market through these successful trade partnerships.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, these partnerships are so critical for us to be able to do the business and to be able to do that trade. And we really want to encourage businesses to take advantage of these trade agreements that are out there. We've spent a lot of time, developing a range of resource materials to support businesses to understand the ins and outs of these trade agreements, how to unlock some of the benefits of these agreements. And, I would encourage anybody that, wants to explore some of these new markets to, reach out to Caribbean Export, reach out to your national BSOs to see how we can support and how we can assist you in unraveling those things and really leveraging those opportunities that are there.
And one of the things I think that people can do certainly is come to the Investment Forum, right? Because then you will be in the room with people and you will get a greater understanding one-on-one with some of those things that are available. So Joellen, I am going to ask you now to just give us some more details. I think Deodat did a phenomenal job in giving us a broad view and even some great details on what we can expect.
Yeah.
But I'd like you to just delve into that a bit more. He did give us an explanation of the Caribbean Investment Forum itself, but if somebody is just tuning in online or just happened to walk into the room, can you just tell us again what is CARIV 2023?
Yeah, so the Caribbean Investment Forum, which will be taking place from the 23rd of October to the 25th here at the Atlantis in the Bahamas. This is, a premier investment platform. It's no ordinary investment event or no ordinary conference where people talk. It's really about businesses coming together to create business and really looking to support this theme of creating a bold new Caribbean. And so it's, we will have over 800, I believe that will be oversubscribed. The interest has been huge thus far, and it's a great opportunity. And I mean, what I would like to just say about the goals of the Investment Forum. Now looking at the goals of the Investment Forum, there's three of them that's quite simple. One is attracting the investment into those four key priority sectors that can really fast track and accelerate our transition into a greener and smarter Caribbean, greener and smarter economies. Secondly, we want to raise the visibility and awareness internationally for the Caribbean as an investment destination, a premier investment destination. For the international market to really understand what the Caribbean as a region has to offer. So the CIF 2023 will really support the raising of that visibility. And thirdly, bringing those investors here, connecting them with investors even from within the Caribbean as well, because we do have a lot of indigenous people that are able to also invest regionally across in the Caribbean. We want to create this ecosystem of investment that can continue to grow and build, and as I say, work together to build this bold new Caribbean.
I love that, and I love that we keep saying the word bold, right? Because it brings something to mind. And when you talk about visibility, that's what being bold is. It's stepping forward and saying, look, I have something new to show you. And so it's just so exciting for so many of us in the region. Our nation has just celebrated 50 years. Barbados did the year before, Jamaica right before that. And so it's a shift in what we have been doing. But it's also beautiful because we are still the foundation of our nations in many ways. And so if we can get this right in this season, the potential is unlimited. And so you mentioned, these 3 goals. Are there specific areas of focus? We heard Deodat mention some things as well. I remember him talking about technology. I think about the fact that we're having this video online, that this meeting is in this room, but also being streamed to 500 people. That's new technology that did not exist even 15 years ago. So what are some of those 4 sectors? Can you give us a bit more information on that?
Yeah, and again, I think that's, as you mentioned, the technology, and quite often people don't always associate technology with agriculture, for example. And so when we're looking at, our food insecurity, and if we're looking at for the opportunity to really bolster the agriculture industry, then we need to look at how we can infuse the technology in that to increase the production yield, to increase the efficiency, so that we can, as a region, become less food insecure. As you mentioned, that the CARICOM has the 25 and 5 target to reduce the food import bill, which is $6 billion, as we heard earlier, to reduce that by 25%. We heard earlier this year from CARICOM that they're around just over 70% of the way there, so we're on track. And I think it's important to recognize that, this target has the political will. You can really see it. Our prime ministers and our ministers are talking about this all of the time. And for us to really get that changes, we need that political, the political will has to be there to support it and drive it forward. So that's fantastic in itself. And the market itself, from an investor's point of view for AG technology, quite often the Caribbean is considered too small.
Right.
It's not going to give us really enough yield or enough return of our investment. It's a small market. But as Deodat mentioned, if we've got 30 million people in the region already, another 30 million coming in through tourism, collectively, that's a huge market. And let's not forget that we still also should be able to export our food products, whether it's from a raw materials, even value-added food products as well. So, I mean, the opportunity is huge there in the AG tech space.
Yeah, and as the world has been changing, certainly here in the Bahamas, we have, and throughout the region, been struggling with climate change, stronger hurricanes coming into the region, and the way that just disrupts life. We've had times, especially with our economy being so heavily based on tourism, post 9/11, for example, where we saw shifts in food and what we were able to access. And so this is critical that we can feed ourselves. And some more of the other points that you all will focus on during this time will also help to bolster that, right? Yeah. So this is just one sector, but it's amazing how it's intertwined with some of the other things that will also be the focus.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as you say, technology, technology goes through everything. As I say, not only from this agriculture point of view, but it goes through every single facet of our businesses. And as you alluded to there with the pandemic, our businesses needed to be online in order to be able to, get their products and services out there. And we've seen that it has, the adoption of technology has sped up. And we want to encourage that. We want to encourage those innovative solutions, those technological solutions to support our businesses to grow and to support them to develop. You know, support their, whether it's from inventory management, their efficiencies in terms of their production efficiencies to really be able to leverage the technology to do that. And obviously, the financial services element in the fintech, you need to be able to shift the money from A to B and to be able to have all of the payment solutions in place to be able to support the export of our products and services.
And that's so exciting because it means that there are so many opportunities for every type of person and every type of business, right?
Correct.
So even for the farmer, as he's looking at doing containerized farming, just the ability for someone in Belize to develop an app that supports that, or
Correct.
the ability for a Bahamian fintech service provider to be able to support the business development of someone in Trinidad. It really is a new space of opportunity and possibilities once we intertwine it all. And that's why being here is so important. Now, there's a third component as well.
Yeah, there is, and that's the logistics and shipping. And you talk about that intertwinedness because it's, you know, that's how business is done. People coming together in spaces like the Caribbean Investment Forum, talking about those issues, coming up with the solutions, and then bringing those things to the marketplace. The logistics and transportation session at CIF 2022, that was a hot topic.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of interaction. It was moderated by the former president of JAMPO, Diane Edwards. We had Darwin Telemak from the head of the Port Association. We also had in there Sean Rampersad from Ramps Logistics, and a number of other people and they were able to really come together and discuss some of the issues of logistics. Because without them, you know, looking to solve those problems, the businesses need to be able to export, and there's no point if they can't get it from A to B. In fact, you know, we heard of some developments that have taken place off the back of that very panel discussion that was had between Upturn Funds, Ambassador Andre Thomas. He informed us of some developments that have taken place, and they're looking at introducing a ferry service for the region. In fact, let's take a look and see what he had to say about last year's event.
I attended with my business partner, Mr. Rafael DeAngelis, and he took part in the transports and logistics panel, and I took part in a fireside chat to deal with financing projects in the Caribbean. We also met very significant people around transport and logistics. And coming out of that, we met Mr. Hinkson. He had a very successful computer software business and has designed an e-commerce logistics platform actually for the Caribbean. We also met with the CEO of Windward Ferries, and we all came together. Now, with our ability to raise finance and our ability to structure projects and bring them into the marketplace, we all came together and we all created a joint venture. And this joint venture now promises to bring a ferry service, yes, a ferry service, from Barbados to Trinidad, to St. Lucia, to St. Vincent, to Antigua, and to Grenada. And this really came from the conference. These relationships were made at the conference. We were inspired by the conference, and we have worked since the conference. And we have a formal relationship, and we are ready now to make this project known, and we are ready to move into the implementation stage of the conference. So if you are considering attending the Caribbean Investment Forum, it is not just a talk shop. It's a place where you can meet people that have ideas. Many times, great projects are like puzzles. And when we went to the Caribbean Investment Forum, I can tell you, we found pieces that were missing in our puzzle to deliver a transport and logistics maritime project to the Caribbean. This is Dr. Thomas, and I recommend you attend the conference.
That is phenomenal to hear that that type of business deal was created as a result of people attending the conference. And just for some perspective, what would that sort of ferry service mean for those islands that are now going to have that connection?
Well, I think it opens up the opportunity to do more trade, movement of people, supporting the movement of resources between them, and I think it's something that I know that people have spoken about quite a lot, and there's been a lot of maybe discussions, but we haven't really been able to get it done. And the question is why? Maybe because they didn't have all of the right people in the room at the right time. You know how they say, the stars have got to line up.
Yes, yes.
And let's hope that the stars line up at the Caribbean Investment Forum, because we were able to put the right people together. And that's not the only opportunity, the only development since CIF 2022. In fact, since then, we've seen that a call centre, business process outsourcing centre opened up in Dominica, creating a number of jobs over there. And there was also another opportunity within the shipping space as well, with these flying ships, which we're going to talk about a little bit more a bit later on. So there's a number of things that are bubbling around, and that's really good. It's a really good indicator that that the event is working. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Definitely. So we've covered 3 sectors so far. We've talked about agriculture, we've talked about technology, we've talked about some shipping and logistics. Is there a 4th sector that we can look forward to really getting in depth on as we go into CIF 2023?
Yeah, and that's the renewable energy piece.
Oh, yes.
That's the renewable energy piece. We know that we're climate vulnerable. Our businesses need to build their sustainability and mitigate some of the impacts from climate change. And the renewable energy sector is a huge opportunity, not only from the point of view of from our businesses becoming more sustainable and more secure, and being able to leverage the renewable energy to be even more efficient as well, reducing those production costs and so forth. But if we're really looking at transitioning to a green economies, as Deodat noted from the study, that could create 400,000 jobs, high, good quality jobs as well, for our people, which is huge. So there's all the reasons are there to really embrace renewable energy, not only because we need to, but also because of the opportunity that it can bring for our people as well.
It really is exciting times, and to just have meetings of the minds, but also people willing to take action on what is discussed, I think is a very big deal, and one that shouldn't be downplayed. And I'm very excited to see more of what we will do come October, but also how it will be done. So, for example, he just talked about himself sitting in a fireside chat. Obviously, you and I are doing that this morning. He said one of the partners in that new development together was on a panel. What are some of the activities that we can expect to see at the actual forum that will allow these great conversations and then great action to take place?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a really well thought out program, because it's been quite deliberately done the way it has been set out. We will have our leadership and ministerial roundtable. As I alluded to earlier, we're looking at really making that change. We have to have that political will there. We welcome, and we're absolutely grateful to have the Deputy Prime Minister obviously be here for the event itself, and we will also welcome ministers from from Trinidad and Tobago. Paula Gopi-Schoon will be there. We will also have the Honourable Denzel Douglas from St. Kitts and Nevis, and also from the Dominican Republic, Pavel Calderas as well will also be attending, and a number of other governments have also said that they will be sending ministers to attend the event. So the political will is there. The political will is, and they understand that we have to get the investment into the region, and this is the platform to support doing that and achieving that. The other, key area from within the program is our investment villages. Now, this is where we have deliberately selected some really good investment projects that are bankable, that they've gone through the process of developing their feasibility studies. They understand what the return of investment would be. And this is really an opportunity for an investor to hear firsthand about these investment projects. And that's quite important because investors don't want to waste their time, right?
Right.
And when you have a program that is deliberately designed and built with the end user in mind, we're hoping that more and more business will be done.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, all of those things sound incredible to look forward to. And so I guess the question is this open to everyone?
Yeah, of course it is. It is open to everyone. Obviously, I say everyone, people that have got businesses, that they're looking to, as Andre Thomas said, find that piece of the puzzle to make things work. And there's going to be lots of opportunity for people to connect within the forum. The business centres, the opportunity business centres is where people will be able to have business-to-business meetings. The event itself will have an app where you'll be able to see and pre-schedule, see who else is there, and connect with people. So it's everything is being set up to make it easy for people to attend and leverage this event as best they could. And we'll also have what we're calling SIF Elite Connect, and this is really an opportunity to bring together the investors with the businesses. People that this is going to be a very focused, closed-door event for those people that have got specific investment needs for their businesses. So I would encourage anybody to go onto the website, have a look through the various programs, and then obviously purchase a ticket as such. And before I forget, the showcases.
Okay, tell me about the showcases.
The showcases, the Caribbean Investment Forum showcases is where we're going to highlight some of the key things that have been happening in certain industries. One of them being the logistics and shipping. As I mentioned, we already have this ferry service and also this flying ship. Now,
slow down. She said flying ship. Did anybody else hear that? Tell me about the flying ship, Joanne. I need to understand what that's about, Joanne.
Yeah, so they contacted us. They attended the event last year, and they made some connections there. And just literally on Friday, they were going to told us that they're going to make an announcement today and about an agreement that they have done with Ramps Logistics, where they're looking to operationalize these flying ships. Now, these flying ships, as the name states, are ships that will support the revolutionized logistics.
Okay.
Bringing products from A to B using unmanned flying ships that hover over the water. They're unmanned, they're extremely fast, they're much faster than boats as such, and a lot greener.
Wow.
Yes. But we've got a video, so let's hear about it.
Yeah, I need to see this. Can we pull up that video?
Flying Ship Technologies Corporation is proudly presenting at the Caribbean Investment Forum to showcase how our eco-friendly maritime logistics craft will improve the lives of millions of people. Last year's forum led to revolutionary collaborations with us to transform logistics across the CARICOM. This year, we are coming back with a ramped-up presence to fast-track Caribbean development.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that is technology.
It is indeed. And if anybody wants to see one, they're actually going to be bringing a prototype of the flying ship here. So that will be in our tech village. So you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to speak to the owners and the people that are behind this specific project. So do come along.
Certainly, that alone I think is quite exciting, and it just gives you an idea of what you can expect at SIF 2023. If that's the type of technology that we're talking about, I think that our minds are going to be blown by what we experience when we get together. Of course, an event like this requires partnerships, and I imagine that you all would need sponsors to support this, and that there may still be some sponsorship opportunities. So can you talk to me about that?
Yeah. I mean, the sponsorship is really there to really help support the event as well. We already have on board Republic Bank. We have also Invest TT. Invest Barbados will also come on board as a sponsor. We're working closely with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce that are also supporting the event. Exim Bank TT as well. So there are a number of sponsors that are coming on board. Climate Smart Caribbean, and of course Virgin as well, who are also offering a 10% discount to anybody coming in for the conference itself, which is fantastic. So if there's anybody else who wants to sponsor the event, just come and find me afterwards. I'll be happy to talk to you about the sponsorship, and also obviously visit the website, but just drop us an email and we can look at developing the right kind of sponsorship package for them.
Excellent. So I feel so excited, Joellen. I don't know what other word I could use to describe it, but I'm really enthusiastic about what this will mean, because so much of it is being done not in a singular focus, but with the context of the Sustainable Development Goals in mind, with everything that's happening now in the region in mind. And with that being said, taking a look at these 4 sectors could really propel us toward a different Caribbean, not just 50 years from now, but 5 years from now.
Yeah.
With that being said, are there any final words that you want to share with us?
From my perspective, that the Caribbean Investment Forum is really, an opportunity to discover those bankable investment products. It's really an opportunity to establish your presence in the Caribbean if you haven't already been here before, but also for those that are here to expand across the region further. This is where you're going to meet the high-level delegates, people, the decision makers, the people that are able to make those difference. It would be great for them to be part of this. If you want to be part of something that is going to make a difference, then I would encourage anybody to come to the Caribbean Investment Forum.
Thank you, Joellen. Thank you so much for that. I think we do have a video that we'd like to share with you that just sums up some of the fantastic things that Joellen has described this morning.
Who will they say shaped the future? I imagine they'd be brave, they'd be wise, patient, and they would be bold. In our lifetime, we will only encounter a few, men and women ready and willing to create, build, and invest in a bold new future. Dreamers, doers, driving investment and innovation for the many. Co-creating something beautiful, sustainable, revolutionary. We only need a few. Step into the nexus of innovation, where we plan in decades, because our story is more than white, sandy blue. Come and meet the bold new Caribbean, designed by you. Join us at Atlantis in Nassau, Bahamas, October 23rd to 25th, where we share, learn, and finalize business and investment deals in technology, agriculture, renewable energy, logistics, and innovation. Come and build a bold new Caribbean at CIF 2023. Learn more and register at www.caribbeaninvestmentforum.com.
Wow. Cheers to that, and cheers to you. And for those who are with us online and in the room, we will have a very special registration announcement at the end of our session, so we hope that you will stay with us. Again, thank you so much, Joellen, for your time and your energy and all that has gone into planning what is sure to be a dynamic event.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, our pleasure. And now one of the reasons that we are in this room today is because the government of the Bahamas has been so supportive of this initiative and wanting to bring it here to the Bahamas. And one of the men behind that vision is the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Chester Cooper. Of course, we know him as a trailblazer in so many respects. Of course, he's our Minister of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation. But he's also had a pivotal role in our community as a business leader, not just here, but internationally. He's a visionary driving socioeconomic growth. From being the youngest of 12 siblings to climbing the corporate ladder, his early struggles sculpted him into a resilient leader. And of course, he has been the chairman and CEO of BF Global Group, president and CEO of BF Financial and Insurance, a business luminary if there has ever been one, and one of the founding directors of the Bahamas Venture Fund. Of course, he's still a member of the Young Presidents Organization. He's a true influencer, embodying courage, resilience, and humility, and he brings it all to his financial portfolio that spans so much of what our country does and will become. Please give him a round of applause as he comes to address us now, the Honorable Chester Cooper.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Let me recognize Mr. Maharaj, the Executive Director of CEDA. Excellencies, I see Her Excellency Cheryl Bazard, Her Excellency Dai Quinn Lee, and others here this morning for this important occasion. When I walked in, I heard the words, less talk, more business. That's when I realized I was in the right place. And I am delighted to be here and represent the government of the Bahamas as we support this most important initiative. Sponsoring, engaging, partnering with CEDA has been an easy decision for our government. We certainly declared that we are open for business, and since then we have seen significant levels of investments in our country, and therefore this fits hand in hand with our mission and our mandate. I also see the chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, the executive director of the Small Business Development Center. So the pieces are all aligned and coming together. At the risk of repeating some things I heard earlier, I will give my speech in its entirety, word for word, notwithstanding the repetition, because it makes the point that we are indeed aligned on the mission and what needs to happen to advance Caribbean investments. So let me say a warm and heartfelt welcome to the Bahamas for those of you who've come here, and say how delightful it is to launch the 2023 Caribbean Investment Forum, which will take place here in the beautiful islands of the Bahamas in just a few months, October 23rd to 25th. We're indeed happy as a main partner and the host of these events to have you as our guest here today. And we're looking forward to hosting the various delegations and partners from the region and around the world later in October. It is always a pleasure and a privilege when opportunities such as this gathering arise, as they allow for the ongoing exchange of ideas across the region as we seek to improve our collective lives and build worlds of future possibilities for ourselves. So let me say at the outset that if we will have a bold new Caribbean, we need initiatives like CIF. We need disruptive and commercially viable solutions. And whilst CARICOM must set the overarching policy, we do not have the luxury of continuing to pontificate for decades about issues that confront us. Of course, I will say more on this later, but one issue is connectivity for passengers and cargo. Commercially viable solutions with business-to-business focus is needed, as we've heard earlier. So I know this won't bring pressure to CIF and its organizers, but CIF cannot cause the evolution that we need to create a bold new Caribbean if CIF becomes another talking shop. And you heard that word, talking shop, earlier. I'm delighted to repeat it. The Caribbean Export Development Agency, and by extension, this economic forum, has a simply stated objective to accelerate closure of the Caribbean's investment gaps and ultimately transform the region's economy by providing jobs and opportunities for its people. So we know what it is that we are setting out to do. It is now the how that we must now work toward. Meticulous planning has gone into how we may close these investment gaps, and work is underway, specifically with that goal in mind. So when we reconvene here in a few months' time, we will be manifesting and rolling out a bold new Caribbean. And clearly, from what we see here today, significant planning has already gone into this event, and I congratulate the organizers. On a national level, our administration has made a priority the educating and equipping of the younger generation of Bahamians with all the tools that they may need to not only become employable, but to also allow them to become employers, should they be desirous of doing so. We are moving beyond the feeding from day to day, but we are creating and fostering the concept of creating fishermen and farmers and small to medium-sized business owners, making it possible for them to succeed. We must, of course, be intentional in making SMEs big businesses and making big businesses successful regional enterprises. We see many of these possibilities to do so arising through partnerships and collaborations with entities such as CEDA and CIF. And whilst aptly themed a bold new Caribbean, we could have easily called this investments in paradise, because this is where you are. And so I take this opportunity to welcome you here to the islands of the Bahamas, the gateway to the Caribbean. And on that note, let me share some of the efforts underway here in the Bahamas, particularly with my ministry, the Ministry of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation. Our tourism sector continues to perform in a stellar manner post-pandemic. And when we look at our arrival numbers, air and sea combined, we have, for the first 6 months of this year, welcomed well in excess of 5 million visitors. Conservative projections put our visitor arrivals well over 8 million by the end of the year. And this will be the best year ever for tourism arrivals in the Bahamas. With such numbers, though, the opportunities for new businesses and endeavors are almost limitless. Even with these numbers, we are not resting on our laurels. What we have been doing is taking a proactive approach to evolving the tourism product, because we are fully aware that the existing tourism model under which we operate today will not sustain us indefinitely into the future, and therefore continuing evolution, continuing improvement, reimagining a bolder tourism industry is really what we must strive to do. We are today harnessing emerging technologies and concepts and ways of thinking in what we do in order to revamp our product. We're breaking and rebuilding. And those in my ministry understand this concept of being bold and being unafraid. Through the use of digital innovation, and we've heard that many times today as well, and through the integration of artificial intelligence, we are improving our data collection, analyzing this data and tracking the movements of our guests, marketing and promotions and strategic deployment for improved clarity and better profiles on visitors to our shores, and therefore hoping that we track their movements back to the Bahamas again and again. We're also working and engaging actively with our counterparts at the Caribbean Tourism Organization to advance multi-destination tourism. And at the CTO, we also recognize that there is significant need for less talk and more business. Essentially, everything that we do supports not just the vibrancy of the industry, but also the attractiveness and feasibility of inward investments in the tourism sector and the hospitality sectors. So through our Tourism Development Corporation and Tourism Development Fund, we will encourage foreign investments that will in turn create linkages with other industries and support local entrepreneurship. The Tourism Development Corporation will lower the barriers to entry into the tourism industry for the average youth and women entrepreneurs and place ownership in their hands. And I hear a lot about technology and innovation, and we are aggressively advancing what we call tech tourism. When the CIF gathers here before the end of this year, we will begin to plot out that bold new Caribbean. And many of the entrepreneurs in this room and in the room in October, myself included, understand what risk is about. And we are aware of the fact that planning and outlining strategies can take you only so far. But beyond that, one must overcome whatever fears and concerns that may be holding us back and make that leap anyway. This, of course, does not necessarily mean that you will automatically succeed. But in a lot of the instances, many businesses, regional, local, small, and large, do fail. But that should always inspire us to continue to try, for failure is a part of the disruption process. So let us fall, let us break, and let us rebuild. Yes, there is fear in the formula, but the solution ultimately results in success. So I started earlier talking about what's needed for this bold new Caribbean, and it will require us to re-examine the traditional ways of doing business and assessing whether what we are doing today in this current global environment is sufficient to continue to propel us forward as a region. So let's throw out some of these, what we used to do, outdated ideas. Some of them, not all of them, but for a bold Caribbean, we must fully embrace disruption, no matter how uncomfortable it might seem. So ending as I started, the Caribbean Investment Forum's ongoing prominence will be connected to its ability to find tangible, practical, feasible solutions to the issues that confront us. And I am confident that the CIF will do just that. This is only your second Caribbean Investment Forum. But I hope that next year we will be able to track the businesses and the deals that started at CIF 1 and CIF 2. And in 10 years, we would be able to show the legacy of CIF as being a place where deals are made. So, at the risk of repetition, let me make 4 points. Firstly, one of the areas where we need significant tangible movement is in the area of food security. To challenge ourselves to achieve CARICOM's goal of 25% reduction in imports by 2025 by aggressively deploying what we call agri-tech. Secondly, another area must be renewable energy. The Bahamas has a mandate of having 30% renewables on its grid by the year 2030. We have a great opportunity to harness the 365-day-a-year sunshine that we have here in Paradise to address this imperative. And this should kickstart the conversation on energy reliability and affordability. So when I hear these issues as a businessman, I see opportunities. Thirdly, we need client-resilient infrastructure, and we must address this as a critical issue as the threat of major storms loom over us even as we speak. Fourthly, building Caribbean connectivity will also be key. And the story we heard today of the layover in Miami, we've been hearing these stories for decades. But addressing the issue requires tangible, business-to-business, commercially viable solutions. And this not only includes the airlift connectivity, but includes the requisite infrastructure, the airports, and the ferry infrastructure for air and sea connectivity and logistics. And 5, there has to be a focus on Caribbean product revitalization. And we're doing just that in our capital, downtown Nassau. And we're driving inward investment. And we are declaring that this is an area of priority to continue to see product revitalization. Point number 6, when we consider technology in the Bahamas, we are starting a new thrust with our Innovate 242 initiative, led by my colleague, the Honorable Minister for Grand Bahama, who is here. This indeed must be the vehicle to improve our global competitiveness, along with the myriad of investment incentives that our various countries already have. So we are already in the process of executing MOUs with some of the largest, most advanced tech hubs in the world. And very shortly, through Innovate 242, my colleague, Minister for Grand Bahama, and Minister for Agriculture, will be executing an MOU and a deal for containerized farming in the Bahamas in the agri-tech space. So less talk and more business. And if we adhere to this imperative, CIF will be extraordinarily successful. Clearly, all of these areas require significant investments. So I highlight these 6 pillars. I believe I may have added 2 somewhere along the line as a slight departure from the repetition. I highlight them as pillars that I know the attendees of CIF will come motivated to provide feasible, tangible, practical, commercially viable solutions, and quickly. I'd leave you with the following from the World Economic Forum's Agenda Weekly. As the late French culturist, theorist Paul Virilio observed, when things work in new ways, they also break in new ways. When we invented the ship, we also invented the shipwreck. The same holds true for new technologies, and the stakes are very high. This should not make us afraid of technological progress, but it should make us humble and mindful of progress being hard-earned and easily lost. Advancing technological change and rolling out new technologies at scale to meet the world's most pressing challenges is the great imperative of our day and age. If we meet that challenge, our reward will be most prosperous and resilient for our economies and our society. I'd like to thank the Caribbean Export Development Agency for placing confidence and facilitating financing for this event, and for your partnership with the government of the Bahamas. I'd like to acknowledge your partners, the European Union, the CARICOM Secretariat, the Caribbean Development Bank, of course the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Team Tourism, and the Bahamas Investment Authority. I thank you as well for bringing together investors, bringing captains of industry and business from across the region and internationally, and showcasing the region's commercial potential as a bloc. And therefore, I wish you exceeding success. I am looking forward to participating and supporting and facilitating deal-making at CIF 2.0 in October. I'm not looking forward to riding on the what do you call it, the flying ship. But we have a 365 island chain in the Exuma Keys that I hope the guests of CIF will visit. And from time to time, early in the mornings, there's need for fresh vegetables or ice cream. And maybe that flying ship in the first instance will test its capabilities by delivering some of these important ingredients for our tourism product throughout the Bahamas and throughout the region. This is an opportunity, although I make light of it, it's an opportunity for us to innovate. And certainly we must begin and continue this innovation around the industries that we do have. And in the Bahamas, we are exceedingly successful in tourism, and therefore I give you my full support that tech tourism will play an important role in creating and enhancing this bold new Caribbean. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Chester Cooper. Please give him another round of applause. Now, I want to test something, because you all throw out a lot of words. You say bold, you say innovative, you say disruptive. But can we disrupt the room? In this room full of excellent, astute, debonair, confident business people, may I disrupt you just a bit to find out whether or not you are truly ready for disruption in our sectors? Can you say bold? 1, 2, 3? Bold. No, see? How we can have a bold Caribbean and we don't have a bold room. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3? Bold. Getting there. One more time. One more time for the people online. 1, 2, 3? Bold. Okay, they'll be halfway there. They'll be ready in October. If there are questions that you would like to ask, we will take them in just a few minutes. In the interim, I would like to invite Mr. Maharaj back on stage with our Deputy Prime Minister. And we do have some questions coming from our chat online, where we've had over 500 people registered. Of course, if you would like to ask a question in the room, we do have a mic set up here to my left, your right, and you can walk up to that mic. In the interim, we do have a video testimonial that we would like to play for you as we get those questions here online. And of course, if anyone has a question they would like to ask, they can come and stand at the mic on my left. Let's see the video.
To see how we can really strengthen our investment promotion agencies and make sure that before we actually go out and start looking for investors, we have the right environment in place, we have the right package, the right product to propose to our investors. And I think that will be one of my takeaways, because this is something that always come out. You know, we always hear that money is not a problem, but why is it that we are still having a gap in infrastructure, for instance? Maybe it's because we are not yet doing something right in terms of how we position ourselves, how we sell ourselves out there. And one of the major takeaway will be also that it's important to take risks and go out and find what is out there.
You know, I'm sure we're all accustomed to hear going into a presentation and seeing a marketing manager or CEO say, you know, reference statistics out of the US or North America, such as the size of the payments market in the US is X billion, right? There's never any local data, right? And that's the mission that we're on. And definitely I see a lot more companies taking data analytics and just, you know, understanding the power of data more seriously. And I think we are moving in that direction and in that right direction.
We should be looking at every renewable energy project as an opportunity to inform and contribute to agriculture. And the reverse should also be true. Every agricultural project should be looking at how it affects and impacts clean energy, because the symbiosis between the two are really strong.
We're now seeing a new crop of entrepreneurs who are going for it. They're traveling as far and wide as necessary to, you know, achieve their dreams and aspirations. And there's also a new crop of fund managers ultimately who are out there raising capital and trying to fuel the future of the region. We're going to continue this journey of fostering specifically the tech ecosystem in the Caribbean, right? And really bridging this gap between our market and the rest of the world, especially with big, large tech companies globally.
I think that the talent base in terms of what we have in the Caribbean, the mindset, the vision, the education, and the ability, it needs to be enabled, right? And we have not been enabled by being given the access that we need to foster that talent, vision, and ideas, right?
Caribbean Investment Forum, absolutely fantastic. A space for creatives, investors to sit, have conversations, entrepreneurs to see opportunities and how they can package their work. I think it was absolutely fantastic over the few days. Amazing opportunities, amazing interactions, amazing Caribbean innovators and entrepreneurs. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to you guys in pulling off an excellent event. And I look forward to a lot more. I've been able to really interact and develop my company. And you know, this is Aston Isaac. It's a brand. And I'm telling you, this was absolutely fantastic.
Caribbean Export put together the Caribbean Investment Forum. We brought it to the region for the region. It's an event that we really wanted to be able to showcase what are the innovative business opportunities that are available in the region and showcase that to the world. That's why we've partnered with a multitude of agencies to shine light on what is going on in the Caribbean, what are the opportunities in the Caribbean, and what we need to do together to be able to bring forward a new chapter of development for the region.
All right, try it one more time. Say bold. Oh my goodness. By the end we'll have it. All right, so we do have some questions that have come in online. I have not seen anyone walk up to the podium, but we have about 4 questions here now. I will take 5. I recognize the timing is of importance to everyone in the room. But I will start with you, Deodat. Are there any estimates on how many Caribbean companies export? And how many Caribbean companies have the potential to export?
I think to export and drive an export agenda to create jobs and opportunity for people, we also need investments. So there's a direct link between investment, as we are doing via SIF 2023, and exports. But with the right investment, we can phenomenally increase the quantum of our investment. So I can give you an example. Based on the data, around 2009, 2010, we were exporting to the European Union, leveraging the economic partnership or free trade agreement with the EU, around 2.38 billion United States dollars. 2019, that trade and export from the region to the EU rose to around 5.5 billion United States dollars. But truth be told, that's a drop in the bucket in terms of the massive amount of exports we can do. Secondly, linked to that is that we have a free trade agreement with Colombia, we have a free trade agreement with Cuba, free trade agreement with Costa Rica as a region. We also have an arrangement with Canada called CaribCan. So the sky is the limit in terms of exporting, but the challenge that we are trying to address is the fact that we don't have the investment to do it per scale. So that is why we want to have SIF 2023 to provide financing A, but B, important partnerships to help achieve the scale. So I think looking ahead with the marriage of investment, technology, and export know-how, given the market access that we already have, there is a lot of more products we can export. And to my mind, what we need to focus on the Caribbean also is a premium product for a premium market for a premium price, such as fine Bahamian rum would be a good example.
All right. I saw you, Deputy Prime Minister. Did you have a comment on that? No. Okay. All right. And so this next question is also very similar, and I'm so happy, Dear, that you mentioned some of those connections that we do have. You talked about Canada. We, of course, know that the European Union is a sponsor of this. This particular question asks, though, will we ever see, or are there conversations taking place now with possibilities of trade agreements between this region with places like Ghana and other African entities and countries? And either of you, if you are aware of any, can feel free to answer.
Let me tell you that I know that our government is looking intently at enhancing the relationship with Africa. Our Prime Minister has been working closely with the African Exim Bank, and he intentionally spends much time building these relationships with Africa. Our Minister for Grand Bahama has visited, I believe, CEDA has partnered and supported and promoted a conference recently in Nigeria and Ghana. And therefore there is a new or renewed interest in Africa as the new horizon for investment opportunities. So as we talk about Africa, we must, in the same breath, talk about the Caribbean, as we have a common heritage. And therefore this partnership in the Caribbean as a bloc, leveraging the close ties, ties that ought to be closer for business and economic reasons. We must continue to leverage these possibilities. So the African Investment Bank, they're doing significant work already in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas and Barbados, I know, and others. And this will feature prominently to further diplomatic relationships with various African countries. We have recently, and this will come with a formal announcement shortly, created visa waivers for several African countries to come to the Bahamas, creating more seamlessness in terms of travel, but also for the purposes of travel to create trade. So travel for leisure, but also travel for commercial activity. So the future looks prosperous for this alliance.
Yeah, and if I may, I feel compelled to also compliment the excellent points made by the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. I mean, I've spent a significant chunk of my career actually working and living in Africa. And I know East Africa particularly well. I spent most of my time in East Africa. But the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister spoke about disruptive thinking. And whereas we want to consolidate our established trading relationships, there's an imperative to look for new markets and new opportunities in these new times. Mm-hmm. And it's high time that we convert this inextricable people-to-people and cultural ties and historical ties with Africa into business, trade and investment opportunities, Deputy Prime Minister, for the benefit of Africa and for the Caribbean. Africa is the youngest continent on the planet, 60% of the population under the age of 25. And when we think about trading with Africa, it's not only about goods, It's about junk canoe. It's about tourism. It's about the services as well, our music, our fashion, our culture. We were delighted to convene and to lead an inaugural trade and investment mission. Deputy Prime Minister, let's talk, more action. We took business people. We were delighted the Honorable Ginger Moxie joined us in our inaugural mission to Africa, where we take actual business people, where MOUs and letters of intent were actually signed. So I think going forward, the opportunities are immense, and it was good to see our dear friend Andy Burrows as well join us on mission as he profiled investment opportunities in the Bahamas during our mission, both to Ghana and Nigeria. So to my mind, the sky is the limit. And in terms of the content of SIF 2023, we actually met just last Friday with the regional representative for Afro-Exim Bank, based in Barbados, who confirmed that he will be coming and speaking at the session on finance here at SIF 2023.
Excellent.
So just a quick fun fact. To fly direct from Nassau to London is 7 to 9 hours. To fly direct from Nassau to Ghana is 4 to 6 hours.
Wow.
So I'm not making any announcements. I'm just saying some people are looking at
That's a point we should note. No announcements made, press, but that's a point we should note. With that being said, and those responses I think were certainly very helpful for the person that asked the question online. But something you did bring up, Deodat, was this idea of cultural exchange, right? And so songs, fashion, youth and energy, junk canoe are all very creative industries. We did have a question here asking about the opportunity for creative and cultural industries to be included. Specifically, why has the Caribbean Investment Forum not included the creative and cultural industries, a huge export and transformation driver, with revenues from Latin America and the Caribbean region of some $124 billion according to the IDB. As a result, when will Carib Export and the like have a desk to facilitate this sector for individual companies?
Okay, so we have a strategic plan. The strategic plan speaks at three areas. One, export. Two, investment. And three, services as a next frontier for Caribbean business. Services would include innovation, digitalization, technology, and the creative sector. We have been working day in, day out for many years since our establishment in the services sector. What SIF 2023 would focus on is how do we leverage technology and digitalization to drive the services sector. So for example, as we speak now, the Caribbean Export Development Agency, we have gotten funding from the EU, separate and distinct from our ongoing program, to help businesses in the Caribbean. It's a €5 million program to help our businesses in the services sector enter the digital age. So we're actually doing a lot of work in the services sector, but what is very critical going forward, we need to have the wherewithal and the technology to drive the sector. So going and doing business with Ghana, whether you're a musician or a designer, does not necessarily entail you traveling physically. How do we leverage technology to do business, make money, and create opportunities for our people? And that's what the direction SIF is focused on.
Excellent, excellent response to that. And so for the person that asked the question, again, it's about seeing how the four sectors that we will be discussing at CIF actually fit into the services that you do offer, even if that is in the creative and cultural industries. So thank you for that. We're coming and drawing near to the end. So again, if there are any questions from the room, I would like to see that person stand at the mic just so I can acknowledge them before continuing on with any final questions from our online community. Seeing that there are none at the moment, we do have a question here around startups. A lot of the discussion on opportunities is driven by startups. Will there be any specific focus or stream at the conference on startups themselves?
Yeah. I'm happy to respond, but I will also defer to the Deputy Prime Minister because I'm intrigued, being a business person. I mean, your position and the support provided for those who want to come into business.
Well, certainly I can speak to the various agencies of government in the Bahamas. From a Bahamas perspective, we are committed to the development of SMEs, the growth of SMEs to be bigger businesses and advancing to regional businesses, as I've noted. And we do have some models already, but we are at the moment consolidating our effort for SME development, and the arms of these agencies are looking to see how we can work even closer together with the Small Business Development Center. We have the Bahamas Development Bank. We now have the Tourism Development Corporation that will focus heavily on tourism-related entities. And we have BAIC that focus intently on agriculture and industry development. So there is a lot of access to technical resources, but also funding. But what is key is collaboration between the entities, first of all, and secondly, bringing them to to demystify their access. And I noticed that we're doing a lot of work, particularly through the SBDC, to carry this message that access to funding is available, access to technical resources is available, and we must continue to do this. I know that this is not unlike many of our Caribbean counterparts. We are seeing some incubation centers throughout the region. We're looking at them as we embark on creating our own incubation centers in the Bahamas. We're at the moment about to launch in Grand Bahama, Nassau, and Exuma, and we're doing a lot as well in the tech incubation space as well. So through Innovate 242, we will also have funding and support for technology businesses, and therefore I am particularly enthusiastic about the possibilities in this space as a former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted to see so much support for startups and for growing small business.
Yeah, and if I may just segue to emphasize the point of the MSME sector, and it's so good to see the colleagues from the business associations, including SBDC here. In the Caribbean, around 75 to 80% of businesses are micro, small, or medium-scale enterprises. They account for around 60% of the region's GDP and around about 65 to 70% of total employment. So you can't do development in the Caribbean without focusing on the MSME sector. SIF 2023 is going to focus a lot on the MSME sector, but from the perspective of digitalization, technology, and innovation. And for those who are startups or interested in working on startups, I mean, we have our partner in this EU, Latin America, and the Caribbean Digital Accelerator Program, Technalia. They are coming specifically with a team of experts, and I mean, people who are very active in the sector, to the Caribbean Investment Forum to present and engage, because their area of expertise and competence is precisely the area of startups and linking digitalization and technology. And the vision of this project that we will profile as well at SIF 2023 is to connect Bahamian startups and businesses in the tech space, those from the Caribbean, with businesses in Latin America in the same space, and Europe, with the emphasis on peer-to-peer exchanges, and to help the startups grow, because there are possibilities of joint ventures and financial partnerships as well. So that's the angle that we are looking, but still beating on the theme innovation, technology, digitalization. Whether you're a startup in agriculture, leveraging technology again. So green economy transition, same. So what we are trying to do at Caribbean Export, we're not a flavor of the month organization to say, like, you know what, this is the fad and tomorrow we'll do something else. I mean, we have to be disruptive, one, but we have to be consistent and we have to be systematic. And if we do the basics right and we do it over and over, we will get results that could drive transformation in this Caribbean of ours.
So small businesses should attend CIF.
Certainly.
And hope that at a minimum there could be an inspiration, certainly also an exposure to see how the big boys are doing it. But certainly they ought to be there, they ought to be in the room. In addition to the possibilities of joint venture, there's real opportunity here to really see how it's done, not just in the Bahamas, but across the Caribbean.
Excellent, extremely well said. Ladies and gentlemen in the room and online, please give our panel today a round of applause. Sure, do that.
Yeah, just one final comment. I mean, it would be remiss of me not to once more thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for joining us this morning and for your fantastic support, but the organizing team here in the Bahamas. I mean, we've been working hand in glove with them, and we have an excellent collaboration and partnership. So I just wanted to recognize, you and all the colleagues for this work that's been done in the background, and absolutely necessary. And the work has been so good. I think we have a really strong foundation for not a successful SIF 2023 Prime Minister. That wouldn't be good enough. But we want SIF 2023 to be an outstanding success. Yeah. Thank you.
An outstanding success. Let's give them both a round of applause. Gentlemen, you can feel free to stay on stage, or if you would like to take your seats, you may do so. At this time, I would like to invite Mrs. Felicia Hanna. She, of course, is a driving force in the Bahamas' economic evolution. As Director of Investments at the Bahamas Investment Authority, she's shaping a dynamic landscape for foreign investment, aiming for growth and jobs. With a master's in business law and international dispute resolution, she is a legal powerhouse, passionate about streamlining businesses. She's set to boost our ease of doing business ranking. I think all Bahamians can applaud that. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes to the stage to close out our launch event this morning and share that special announcement about registration that I promised we would give if you stayed until the end. Felicia.
Good morning, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. Just to reiterate, the remarks brought today by the Executive Director of Caribbean Export Development Agency set out clear the mandate and objectives for October's Caribbean Investment Forum: to attract investments into priority sectors, to raise the visibility of the Caribbean as an investment destination, and to bring together the investment community to engage with businesses and create new businesses. The Bahamas Investment Authority and the Government of the Bahamas and its partners will be working diligently toward ensuring that we bring as many prospects to the October's forum. This will be a unique opportunity for cross-pollination of ideas. We are eager and excited. Our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, in his opening remarks, has shared in part his vision of what a bold new Caribbean should look like. His vision could look like with all shareholders at the table, all stakeholders at the wheel. I am sure we are all aware that the factor of time is essential. Taking action, and when this is done, may place an enterprise at the forefront of developments of using resources to catch up. To say that timing is everything under the circumstances would almost be an understatement. No opportunity for collaboration and networking must be squandered. The price of failing to do so will be paid by all of us in this room and sectors that we represent. In the same vein, we will all benefit from the successes of our endeavors. We will see this as a crucial inflection point in terms of matching local business ideas of creation and expansion with much needed capital. We fully intend to make the most of this opportunity. We understand the value of networking. We have today heard the agency's call to action, as well as heard the recommitment of the agency to its mission, vision, and strategy. The Bahamas Investment Authority is busy laying the groundwork to ensure that appropriate matches are made between investment support and other resources and concepts for projects. Aspirationally, we need to leverage this momentum so that local successes are exported regionally and internationally. Before formally closing this event, I'd like to thank all stakeholders gathered here today for their contributions toward ensuring the successes of Caribbean Investment Forum 2023. These stakeholders include all the members of Caribbean Export Development Agency, their partners, and of course, the Government of the Bahamas, the hard-working members of the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, in particular the Bahamas Investment Authority. We thank you for taking the time out today to attend this launch, and we look forward to seeing you all back here at Atlantis Resort on October 23rd to 25th in Nassau, Bahamas, for a dynamic event. Thank you, and good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, both present and online, thank you so much for your attention this morning as we launch CIF 2023. I'm going to just try one more time. If you only do it for me in the heels I'm standing in, please. On the count of three, give me bold if you are ready for a disruptive Caribbean event that will help to foster a better Caribbean. 1, 2, 3. Oh, they're ready. They're finally ready. With that said, I can now give the promo code that will allow you to register for 15% off your registration costs because you are bold and you are ready. If we can cue that promo information for them, please. It's there on the screen. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much again for your time and attention. We do have some butler services coming into the